Hello, Blade family. It's Sunday, November 1st, 2020. And we've got a good one here for you today. We're operating on a Sunday today because yesterday was Halloween. And even in a pandemic, Halloween is too busy to try to record a podcast. So today, we're going to have Adriana Arnold. Adriana is a class of 1990 graduate, a current social studies teacher at our school. Amazing Blade graduate. We're going to see what she has to say about how her family's doing and the 5 questions. I hope you enjoy. And it is the first day of November, and I've got an amazing Blade family faculty member on the phone with me, Mrs. Adriana Arnold. Good afternoon, Mrs. Arnold. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a Sunday afternoon. I just got our ribs on the grill, so things are going good. Things are going really good.
Awesome.
So, this fireside, this Blade Family podcast, I do a couple of things. The other one's the fireside chat. This Blade Family podcast, the family reunion, we have a ton of faculty and staff members at our school that went to East. And so what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1990.
1990.
Oh, that sounds so old.
No way. No way. That can't sound old because I'm a 92 graduate, so 90 can't sound old. If 90 sounds old, 92 does too. So we can't go there. So your class
Seriously.
of 1990. Okay, so now part of the reason we do this is because I want people from your class or the classes around you who might have known you to know that you're still around the school taking care of the current generation of Blades. So before we get into that, they may not have heard from you in a while. So
I am so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Those are my dogs.
That's
my students know my dogs will be sitting with me during Zoom, and then all of a sudden they start barking because they're so protective. They hear something outside.
Okay, so that's a behind the curtain look at your life now. We at least know you have dogs. How many kids do you have? I know you're married. I've already let that cat out of the bag, but what's been going on with you since you graduated from high school?
Oh my gosh. Well, I am married. We are about to have our 19th anniversary on December 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our oldest is 15. She's a sophomore and she goes to East High.
That's
so
right.
She's continuing the legacy.
Nice.
And she was so excited to go to East. She really was. And then I have twin boys they're 12 right now. They're in the 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We have a 11-year-old poodle, standard poodle. And we have a year and a half standard poodle. And then we have a kitten who adopted us.
That happens a lot with kittens.
It does. He figured we had a lot of love to give. So, why not pick this house? And he's been living like a prince ever since. So
Nice. Smart move on his part. And
yes.
How have y'all been doing through the pandemic? I know for everyone it's hard. For family dynamics, it's interesting. How's it going in your house?
Well, fortunately, we moved in July during all of this. And we were very surprised that we were able to sell our house, which was a very small house. We put it up for sale in May, and then immediately we had an offer and went through escrow. So we moved into a much bigger house. It's like twice as big.
Uh-huh.
So if we were still in that tiny house, I think we would have strangled each other. But this house is bigger. The twins have their own room for the first time ever, and Natalia, my oldest, her room's is like a second master bedroom. So everyone has their own personal space. There's a nice little park nearby.
Nice.
So we've been able to survive. Otherwise, I think that little tiny house that we had since, right after we got married would not have done it.
Right. Well, I will say we moved right as the quarantine began. actually.
Mm,
So I do understand moving during this pandemic. It's triple nerve wracking. But I'm
mhm.
glad you were able to upsize. That's awesome. That's great for your
Yeah.
family. Yeah. We actually downsized from a 2-story to a 1-story.
Mhm.
And everyone knows my family's enormous, but it was a blessing not to have to go up and downstairs anymore. So I'm happy
Mhm.
about that for us. For me,
Yeah.
I was feeling my age about that. So
We were worried that when we first moved in, that we thought, what were we thinking? Because we went to a two-story,
uh huh.
and I thought I was gonna die. But I got used to it. That now I can just like jog down the stairs, and I'm not out of breath. Everyone's used to it now, so
Right. Yeah.
even the dogs.
It takes some getting used to, but I will tell you that extra space is important a lot of times. That's for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like y'all are doing okay in the pandemic, which is good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad to hear that. And I have one last question for you. How's the distance learning going for your students, both your Blades, your daughter and your sons? How's that adaptation going for everybody?
For my own kids, Natalia does fine no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a self starter. She'll get it done, but she really misses the social.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
um, she was super involved her freshman year. She was a cheerleader. Then she joined drama, did 2 musicals with Miss Audlin, and just loved every minute of her freshman year, which was so bizarre to me because I don't remember loving it at all. But she was just so happy. And she started um, eighth grade summer school health,
Uh-huh.
knowing only a couple of people, and just dove into freshman year
That's
just
awesome.
flourishing.
That's
So
great. That's great.
she did great, and she misses it so much. She would have gone to Centennial with all the kids she grew up with, but she didn't want to go. She wanted new experiences, and she wanted so desperately to be on the east side with me. So I was like, okay, fine. Um, so academically she's fine. Socially she misses it, but they have ways of communicating with each other that we didn't
Sure.
have when we were young.
Yep, that's true.
So yeah, when she complains that she hasn't seen so and so, and I say, I remember all summer I wouldn't see anybody and I would only talk to them over the phone, so get over it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, the twins, um, they did fine distant learning before the new school year. And now that they went from sixth grade to seventh grade, in seventh grade, it's a new school, new teachers, same kids, but they're not allowed to talk to each other during Zoom. And they're doing fine. My older twin is a self starter as well, and he refuses help from me. He's like, Mom, I got it. Okay. So he's doing great. The younger twin, he's the baby. He is smart enough to know that if he just acts like he doesn't know how to do it, then we'll do it for him. So we've been trying to break him out of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's been resilient despite, you know, instead of having one teacher,
Right.
they now have several teachers.
Right, right, right.
And their school district, they do 25-minute periods,
Oh,
every
wow.
period a day. It is crazy.
Oh, my goodness.
But I know they're done at 11:30, but the teachers record, I guess, the last lesson of the day, and then post it on, I think it's either Spotify, or I'm not sure what they posted of what device they're using, but they're able to go back and catch whatever they may have missed in 25 minutes for a 12-year-old.
Wow.
I'm doing a lot of reteaching.
I
So I
bet.
tell Yeah, I tell my own students, okay, I'm done with school at 1, then I eat, and then I'm available. However, I am helping my own kids at the same time too,
Right.
or I am available after 3 o'clock because I had to help my kid get his assignment in. Um, it is crazy, but my students, they are totally understanding that I get everything done that I can get done during the week, and on the weekend I need to reset because I
Sure.
can't think
Yeah.
straight anymore. And they will email me, and they know that I'll email them back. So I've never had so many kids reach out to me
Oh, I bet.
um, through email. Yeah, and they seem so independent, but at the same time, we have kids that really need extra help, like my own son.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
So,
it's just adjusting.
in transparency for anyone who's listening to this, my son, Leo, Leo
Mhm.
Jr. has you for
Mhm.
history. He likes your class, so
Yes.
whatever you're
He
doing is
is.
working for him.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's into history too, though, so that helps, I'm sure. But he does like your
Oh
class. That's
yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, he has a vast amount of knowledge on history. So I don't ever really have to question him. I'm like, yeah, you know what you're talking about. I know you know what you're talking about. So you're perfectly fine. And he's a little shy, so
He
but
can
he's
be.
very sweet.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's all right.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
all
I'm
right.
wondering how he is in person, because I see him over Zoom, and then I think I see maybe a younger brother in the background.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yep, yep. And he's there, he's focused, he's doing his work really fast. Sometimes I tell him, hold on, you forgot something, and he'll go back. So he's great.
yeah. They
I can
are.
hardly wait to really meet him though.
He's he's a different kid. He has his Zoom camera on most of the
Hmm.
time. His
Yes.
brother has his camera off most of the time. But I
Hmm.
don't think his brother has ever realized that all of Leo's classmates can see him in the background, even though his camera's off for his classes. There's a whole group of kids that know the side of his head because they see him
Yes.
in the background of Leo's Zoom. So, and I don't think it works the same way because the shape of their room. I don't think Brennan's classmates can see Leo, but Leo's classmates can see
No.
Brennan. It's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I see both your boys every day. Side of the head of one, and then the face of your older one.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
So um yeah, so a lot of kids, I can hardly wait to meet them, but they're understanding, and I ask them all the time, how do you feel about the pandemic? How do you feel about being moved into red? Do you ever think we're going to get into orange or even yellow? And so many, most of them are, you know what, we need to be safe, we need to be cautious, we need to protect our loved ones.
Yeah.
We don't like that we have to do this, but we understand why we have to
Right.
do
Right.
this. So, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
amazing to me how mature they're sophomores, how their approach is, that I'd rather be safe than hurt someone in my family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the same feedback from our students and also from our surveys that we've done so far this year. They all kind of indicate the same feeling, the same sentiment from
Mm-hmm.
our kids. So, all right. So we've got the 5 questions, Mrs. Arnold. Are you
Mm-hmm.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I always get a kick out of these. I learn something new every week from the staff members we talk with. So the first question is, what teacher or staff member made the biggest difference in your EB high school education? And this is not a class. This is a person.
Yeah. Let's Mr. Richmond. I was just one of many students he has had over the years, and I had him for US and then government econ, and I was a TA for him. And he just made it sound, history and politics sound so fascinating to me. And I got a lot of politics growing up from my own family. So, but just the way how he just made it sound like story, and it was inspiring. It was the old sage on the stage where they just lecture to you,
Right, right.
and we don't do that anymore. Yeah, but I loved it, and it inspired me to want to go into history and to follow politics, and I very happy, very happy with my subject, and my husband's learned a lot from me, and my boys. Oh my gosh, my boys are like Leo. They just absorbed all this information. They just know it about history.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter's the only one that's like, it's okay.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Mr. Richmond, I know he's still around. I believe he's still around. I'm gonna have to make sure he hears it. He comes up in this podcast.
I
Um,
had an opportunity to work with him. He, when I was working at Arvin, because I worked out there for 12 years, he taught at Arvin High for just a couple of years when he got back into the classroom.
uh-huh.
And then I think he ended up leaving to go back to Centennial. I don't remember. And then I lost track. So I don't know where he's at anymore.
I think he actually just retired.
As he should.
Yeah, I think he just retired. Maybe this year, but recently, I believe he just retired. Uh, I know there are a lot of blades out there who enjoyed his class over the years.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe my wife is one of them. So.
It was just an old style of teaching that you would see maybe in college, just the teacher lecturing about all these amazing things that have happened in the past. And unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. But the kids, when you get into a groove of something that the kids just sparks the kids' imaginations, they're desperate for more. They want
Right.
more, but it's time constraints.
Right. Right.
I could talk about this forever, but I can't. I have to
Right.
move on.
I could, but I can't. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was your favorite class then?
In high school, it would be the classes I had with him.
Okay.
I remember enjoying, I had a humanities class with Mr. Christensen my senior year. I enjoyed that a lot. That introduced a lot of things that I have never really came across.
Yeah.
And
I believe Ken Chapman said that class was his favorite class as well.
Yeah, it was great. And I remember we had a choice of either 12th grade English or humanities, and I chose humanities.
Right, yeah.
I loved it. So
I will tell you, a lot of blades from that generation of students, kind of the mid 80s to the mid 90s, say the same thing. Same thing, yeah. That class was something else, I hear. We didn't have that option when I was a kid at West High. We didn't have that.
Oh,
I missed out on that experience. What was so good about it, from your perspective?
Oh my gosh. I just remember enjoying his lectures as well, and it was on topics that I was unfamiliar with. I remember world religions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember being taught that at all earlier in my academic career. I don't remember at all. If it was, it went over my head. I don't remember. But I remember it with him, the introduction of different world religions. So that was fascinating to me, to learn about something so outside of my realm.
Right.
And what's funny is that because they changed the standards and the framework and the curriculum over the years, now my twin boys who are in 7th grade just finished learning about the world religion. Well, at least the 3 main Western religions, which was something I didn't even have.
Right.
So I'm like, I love it. I love it that there's some good changes.
That's awesome to hear. Okay. So what is your favorite high school memory?
The only thing, when I saw that, the only thing I could think of that I remember vividly are the football games at Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
and the dances back in the cafeteria.
Okay. See, now the cafeteria dances, that is something that's come up in a few of these family reunion podcasts. And
Hmm.
it's one of my favorite things because I learned from a class several years back when I gave them a tour of the school that the cafeteria holds a lot of memories because of those dances.
Hmm.
We don't do too many dances in the cafeteria now. We actually do them in the gym. Um, I think Coach Cravey and Coach Dominguez would have, flipped their lid if they saw students doing dances in the gyms that they, coach their basketball games on. But we do
Hmm.
most of ours in the gym now, not the cafeteria, which is interesting because the memories seem to be tied to that cafeteria for many generations of Blades.
It's funny to me because I have chaperoned many school dances since I've been teaching at East in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have the same feel as it did in the cafeteria. I don't know why. It just doesn't. And I just kind of chalked it up to they're playing music that I'm not entirely a fan of, or they dance different than they did when, back when I was in school, or it just, I wasn't sure what it was. And I think it's the intimacy of the cafeteria. It's
Mm-hmm.
smaller. You couldn't make it completely dark, but it was dark. So in the big gym, it's either super dark or bright. It's either one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being able to chaperone better if there would be like a little bit brighter so you could see the kids better and there's no shenanigans going on. So it makes me so old. So.
Well, I mean, I will. There is something to be said about uh, the cafeteria dance experience. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say we aren't going to have dances in the cafeteria again. I think the biggest reason we now do them in the gym is it's convenient. Drop off and pick up right there on Mount Vernon. I think
Yeah. And
that's really the biggest thing.
I remember it was such a different time too. I remember going to the dances and then walking home in
Mm-hmm.
the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like no big deal. So I don't remember people being dropped off or picked up. They just I don't even I remember just walking home in the dark with my friends
Oh
from
my
the
goodness.
dance.
I,
So,
yeah,
but
I
like I said, it was a different time.
It was. I will tell you, a lot of places, and it doesn't matter what side of town you're on. Parents just, if it's after dark, they pick their kids up. You just don't
Mhm.
get a lot of walking home anymore,
Mm.
particularly after dark. I
Mhm.
I don't know. We haven't done a cafeteria dance since I've been back at the school as the principal. I know. Oh, I think it was a senior, the last blast one year when I was the police officer. They had kind of a student center cafeteria party dance thing going on. That's really the
Mhm.
last time I recall a dance component of anything going on in the cafeteria. It's been a long time.
Mhm.
Long time.
Well, like I said, it's real intimate
Yeah.
and it will seem more party like versus the vastness of the gym,
Right. Right.
and staying on the canvas um, where the actual dancing's at so you don't scratch up the floor, which is totally understandable. It just feels weird.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
I
they've tried to make it intimate and they just can't.
I get that. Yeah.
Hmm.
I can understand why you'd feel that way. I think James kind of mentioned the cafeteria dances when I interviewed him a couple weeks back. James
Hmm.
Dominguez. Yeah, I think I get it. It'd be
They
interesting
were
to see
fun.
if listening to these interviews, if there's a little bit of momentum to at least have a dance every year in the cafeteria
Hmm.
to kind of have
Hmm.
that experience for the kids.
See what
Yeah,
happens. And we
I'd
got to
be in
get out of
for it.
this pandemic first. So,
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. We gotta work on that.
this is a future plan. It's a
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
in progress.
Long term. It's a goal.
Yes, it's a goal. That's
Yeah, working
exactly what
toward
it
it.
is.
Okay, so I heard you say earlier that you don't recall being too excited about your freshman year. So,
No, I
okay,
don't.
so this next question I think is really pertinent for you. What is one piece of advice you would go back and give yourself right before your freshman year?
Okay, the reason why I would say this now is um, when I taught at Irvin High and then for a couple of years at East High, I advised a class.
Okay.
So, and you follow them. So I advised a class of 2007, 2008, and then I went to 2011. No, I went to 2012, and just for years, over 10 years of advising. And I saw I got to work with kids who really, really wanted to make the school experience as fulfilling as possible for their classmates. And I always say, get involved. If it's not through student government, which is not for everybody, there's clubs out there, there's sports out there, there's drama. Get
Right.
involved because I didn't. And I was more absorbed in my own personal drama
Mm-hmm.
that if I had another outlet, then I'm sure that personal drama would not even have happened. I would have had other outlets to express myself and make new friends and different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have to tell that to my own daughter because she's outgoing anyway. She will
Right.
make a
Right.
friend with a rock. She doesn't care. She she doesn't care where you come from. She doesn't care how you look. She will be friends with you.
That's cool.
So, and that's why it was so easy for her to come over to East and just flourish.
That's cool. That is so
And
good, though. Yo,
yeah, it's amazing. It was just amazing. And I would definitely tell the kids, even if you don't want to do it by yourself, maybe you could find a friend. And she did. She had a friend um, that she met through cheer, and they didn't do everything together, but they talked about, well, I want to do this, well, I want to go for that, and then they would go and branch off from each other, and then regroup and
right.
talk about the experience. So that was cool too. So maybe with a friend, buddy up and go to different clubs or activities and then come back together and say, okay, that was dumb. I didn't like that. Or that was totally cool. I want to keep doing that.
Right.
And that will make your experience so much better. Instead of just being academic, 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 you will be able to have time to um, have an outlet to just release some stress, make some friends, learn some new things. Because even if you're not in student government, they do have officers in different clubs that are responsible for different duties. And that's like a step into leadership. And if you see that, you don't like the direction your group is going in, or you see another way of improving clubs or improving student morale, then you can branch out and up into the class and then maybe even eventually ASB,
Right. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I've met some super shy kids who have gone up little by little. I am the president of this club, and then worked up to working in the class, and then working up into being a part of the executive board for ASB. And that's where they just grow and flourish. And I stay in contact with a lot of my students through Facebook. Um, that it's so funny because a lot of my kids, they were 18 or 17 when I first started teaching, are now in their 30s,
Uh huh.
married with their own
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And I love seeing how many have changed and grown and are in professions that would have been out of their reach, years ago, but are in their reach and are still working hard. Some go back into the community. At
Right.
Arvin, I have a former student who's a mayor. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's some amazing stuff, and
And he
I
was
love it.
inspired to go into that civic profession
Yes.
from his teacher in high
Hmm.
school, right? I mean, you inspired that, right?
Well, he's a former
You
student,
got to take
and
that
I did.
credit. You got to take that credit.
I just feel like the sophomore, because I only see him sophomore year. I really do, and they just grow into something
Sure, yeah.
bigger after they leave me.
That's a
And they
huge
were,
year, especially for boys. That sophomore year, there's a lot of maturity that usually happens,
oh my
over the
gosh,
course of that year.
yes.
Yeah.
I see kids, in the background thinking that, you know, bodily function noises are funny at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year they're trying to be cool for the girls.
Right.
So they go through a huge evolution
Hmm.
of character.
They do.
And yeah, that's why I like sophomores, because juniors, they're very mature, they got it figured out, and seniors are in a panic of, where am I going to go
Yeah.
to school, am
Yeah.
I going to graduate on time? So it's a
Life is
whole
coming
different.
right now. What do I do?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There is
So
something to be said about that sophomore experience, that watching that
definitely.
growth happen that year. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
okay, so a couple of things that I want to ask you then. So, what was it that you were you involved in any? You said a lot about clubs and being involved. That's the advice you would give yourself. Was there any particular club or activity that you enjoyed in high school that you were involved in?
I was involved in, but didn't particularly enjoy. But I was involved in forensics. I did debate and Lincoln Douglas.
You were a Lincoln
It was,
Douglas debater.
yeah, it was so hard. I was so over my head. I had Mr. McGee,
Mm-hmm.
and I struggled, but I held on as long as I could. And the main reason I did it was to break out of my shyness.
I got you.
I did it on purpose. Nobody made me, no one encouraged me. No one said, "Oh, you're too shy." I just decided I was going to do it, and I did it. And it was so painful, but I did it.
So I will tell you. So I was a debate coach at East, and forensics is my
Mhm.
thing. Um, so my wife was a debater at East.
Mhm.
And I think you would have known her brother Keith. Um,
I don't remember.
you don't remember? Okay, that's all right. I mean, that's well, it wasn't that long ago. I'm not gonna say it was a long time ago. Again, we already talked about that in this in this conversation. But I have
Is Mrs. Holland the same age as you?
she's a year younger than me.
Okay.
She's So
'Cause I
there was a whole group of guys that I knew that were all the class of '91 that debated for East. Keith
Mhm.
Brennan, Manuel Vargas, Ruben
Yes.
Sosa,
Yes.
Pete Garay,
Mhm.
all of those all those guys. There's one other guy I'm forgetting his name right off the top of my head.
Vernon Kyle.
Yeah, it's Vernon Kyle. Yeah, Vernon Kyle
Mhm.
did LD also. Yeah,
Mhm.
all those guys I knew, and it was kind of we kind of had a nice, very friendly rivalry. But
Mhm.
I will tell you, you talk about some sharp, smart people. I mean, to this day, Manuel might be the smartest person I've ever met. He might be.
Yes.
I mean, he's that level brilliant. Um, so there's a lot of darn near
And he had a
perfect
younger
SAT score stuff going on with those guys. So
he had a younger brother. I don't know if he stood in debate. Andreas
hmm
Vargas.
yeah, he was the same
Yeah.
age as my wife.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I remember the guys. I remember the faces of the girls, but I don't remember their names. Um,
I
but I
remember
worked.
Lauren Robinson. I remember her from that. She was a little younger than you. She was, I think,
Yeah,
my grade, maybe my wife's grade. Um, but
I would have to look in the yearbook.
the thing
So,
that's beautiful about East High at that time, that particular generation, is there were a lot of really, really, really smart, dedicated people that have gone on to do some really cool stuff with their lives. You
mhm.
included in that. So it's a pretty good group of people.
Yeah, and you know what else? It's like I said, I was not good. I struggled, but I enjoyed hanging out with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, they probably don't remember me, but that's okay. I remember pleasant things about being in the classroom and then going to the tournaments. It was fun
Mm-hmm.
and it made high school more enjoyable. Um, but like I said, even if you're not that great at anything, if you're involved with something and you make friends and you have fun, that's all that really matters. And that's what you're going to remember. You're going to remember you had fun.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and it broke me out of my shell too. So
That's
that was
and in
helpful.
high school, that's very important. Very important.
Yes, it is. It is.
And so, and I assume that is the advice you'd give our incoming kids now is to try to find things to be involved in.
Even things you don't think you can do, just try, and see. You might like it. You
Yeah.
really might like it. And even if you don't like it, you might meet some really cool people along the way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Okay, so the final question, and this is probably the one I love hearing the answer the most, and hopefully if our students are listening, they're enjoying hearing this too. What does it mean to you to be a Blade?
Well, what's so funny is that even before we came up with family, I always associated with school with family, not family in the school, but my family, because, my mom, she comes from the Loma and she went to East and her, her brothers went to East and then my sisters and my brother went to East, and then I went, and then even my nephews went, and now my daughter. So it's always been like this family thing. You go to East, even if you don't live on that side of town, you go to East. Whereas my husband, he was supposed to go to South High for high school, but they moved right before his freshman year, and he went to BHS, the biggest school with a huge diversity where you just get lost in the crowd. And he has no love for that school. I mean, yeah, I graduated from BHS, but he was not involved. He didn't know a whole lot of people. He made some friends along the way, but it was just didn't have the same feel as, no, our kids are going to go to East. And he's like, okay. He didn't even argue about it. And because it was like this family tradition, my mom's brothers went, she went, my sisters and my brother went, I go, my nephews went, and now our daughter goes, and then our boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say it that way. Cause I love that. I've never articulated it quite like that, but like I've said before on these podcasts, when we moved back to Bakersfield, I really couldn't get my wife to look at houses outside of the east side of town. She just wouldn't.
I believe it.
She would not take anything seriously that was, kind of west of Union or whatever. I mean, we had to live over here. And so it was kind of also a foregone conclusion that our kids were going to go to high school at East. It was just part of the deal. And I didn't get it when we first moved here. I didn't get it until I'd been a cop at East for a couple of years, and then it hit me what was going on, and it just kind of gets in your blood. It's pretty exciting thing. So, but I understand it. I understand what you're saying.
Oh yeah. And when we first when I first became a teacher back in 2003, when I first got my first job, and we looked for a house, and we looked all over the east side, and it was before all the big developments came up. We couldn't find anything. So we ended up moving to Rosedale like everyone else. And I told my husband, somehow, some way, we're going to get back over there. Because my mom still lived over there. She doesn't anymore, but she still did. She moved out of town. She lives at the beach. But
Well, that was a good move for her. That was the right move.
Yeah, yeah. She moved to Ventura, so
Smart,
uh,
smart lady.
yeah. So we figured, somehow, some way we would get over there. And then things happen, a job came up for East High, and I got an interview, and Lee interviewed me, and Pam, and I was offered the job. And even though I was super happy and super comfortable at Arvin, I needed to get back home. I had to get back home somehow, some way, and I
Right.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once I got there, and it just was like embraced by all the the feel, the nostalgia, the newness, the old building, and how it's so different from everything else. We're upstairs, we're enclosed. You can go from one end of campus to the other end and never get wet from the rain. Just
Yeah.
things like that.
Right.
But I was excited about. And then my daughter at the time, she was probably in fifth or sixth grade, and she's like, "I love your school, Mom. It looks like a real high school, like on TV." So
It's true. It's true.
it is.
Yeah.
None of the schools on TV are ever outside, like
Right.
West or Highland or any
Right.
of those schools. Just BHS and us. And even my boys, they're like, "Mom, this is like a real school." I'm like, "Yes, it is."
It's and it's so
So
beautiful. Our school is so beautiful. It's just beautiful.
I love our school. It's
Oh,
gorgeous, and the upkeep of it is wonderful. And oh, I just love it.
I do too. I do too. I do too.
Mhm.
So I will say, the family acronym and attributes and sayings and slogans that we utilize, um, they really resonate with what I see in the community and the feelings that are out there about East High. So I completely understand what you're coming from, where you're coming from with that. Did you have Mr. Vasquez at all in high school?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, every once in a while, you'll hear people talk about Lee, particularly coaching football or those sorts of things, and um, it's interesting to have those memories too, because for a lot of people, he was important when they were going through their high school experience. So it's a very large family we have, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. I meet people all the time that are like, "I graduated this time," and they're excited to hear that school's still going, still running well. Kids are still there. Kids are kids.
Oh yeah,
They talk about their favorite memory, and then off they go.
oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah. I get it too. I get it too, and
hmm
I tell them I'm the principal. I get a flood of memories,
oh,
and
I bet.
and
Hmm
they'll ask me from time to time what happened to the principal that was their principal, which is
Like,
which is also a fun conversation to have. I know the answer most of the time, so
hmm
yeah. All right, so Adriana, before I let you go, is there anything else you could think of to talk about, or anything else you want to say about the Blade family?
No, nothing different than what I've been saying. Is that even if you're new at the school, just try to get involved in something. With distance learning right now, I know it's hard, but there are ways to participate. Um, Even virtually, Miss Alvarez is always reaching out to the kids
Yep,
and
yep.
really excited, has lots of ideas, and she is more than welcoming to anyone who is interested in helping or contributing ideas. So that's the best way to go. Plus, Miss Odlin and Miss
Oh yeah,
Shanning, they are so welcoming, and they will reach out to you if you have questions or want to be involved. They know how to get this virtual thing going pretty well. My daughter's in the class, so um, yeah, that's just the way to do it for now
oh yeah,
until we're back home together again. then it'll be different, and it'll feel like the way how it should. But this is what we're doing to be safe.
Right, right.
So
It's how we can make do right now.
exactly.
Yep. Okay. Well, I got to tell you, thank you. I appreciate your time on this Sunday. I know there's a million things you could be doing. Sitting here talking with the principal, so but I got to tell you, it's so fun to get those memories and to talk to you all. So I do appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
All right.
welcome. Yeah, no. Even when I wasn't teaching at East, I would still have dreams about East. It's so weird.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a place cemented in my memory. And sometimes I'm a teacher and sometimes I'm a student and I totally forgot to do math. But other than that,
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. That's funny. That is funny. Okay.
so
All right. I'm gonna hit the stop button, and
okay.
and I just gotta tell you, thank you. It's always fun. So thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was fun. It's fun to go down memory lane with somebody.
It is. It is. Memory lane is always an amazing street. It was fun talking to Adriana this afternoon, actually. She had a lot to say, and that was a fun interview. Hey, listen, the Blade family reunion is a labor of love on my part, but I do want to raise money for scholarships for our students. So if you're reconnecting with the Blade family, if you're so inclined, please reach out to our finance office. Either we take checks in the mail, or you can call her up and make a donation over the phone. East Bakersfield High School. We're still doing amazing things for an amazing community. I hope you enjoyed catching up with Adriana this week, and we'll have another episode of the Blade family reunion for you next week. Until then, just remember, I love this family. I hope you do too. Take care and go Blades.